Well, our top focus story is from the national capital, Delhi, where farmers' much talked about protest during the parliament session has finally been given a green light by the Delhi police on Wednesday. Now, the police have said that farmers can come to Jantar Mantar, carry out their peaceful protest against the central laws. The time that has been allocated to the farmers is between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. every day. But no protest march has been allowed by the Delhi police, and only 200 farmers a day are allowed to come and protest.
200 farmers are expected to leave from their de facto protest headquarters at Delhi's northern border to Jantar Mantar, a designated protest site near Parliament and next to a major police station.
200 farmers यहाँ से हमारे ऑफिस से बसेज में जाएंगे, रोज जाएंगे, 13 अगस्त तक जाएंगे.
With the 26th of January violence still fresh, the police, government and farmers have agreed on how to proceed peacefully this time. Identification cards every day to the 200 farmers who will bus it to Parliament daily. The buses will be escorted by police. They will arrive at 10:30 a.m. daily and leave at 5 p.m. 5 companies each of Delhi police and paramilitary forces will be present at the Jantar Mantar for security. Farmers who are protesting 3 controversial farm laws pushed through by the government last year are saying that they will court arrest without any protest if the Delhi police try to stop them. The makeshift barriers remain in place. So far, there is no plan to disrupt traffic.
There are 2 challenges in front of Delhi police. First challenge is how to keep control of this whole Parliament Farmers March, because last time on 26 January, they had given permission to farmers to march in Delhi, but situation got out of their hands. And the second challenge is that in Jantar Mantar, which is very close to Parliament, how to control these farmers, because last time also few fringe element deviated the whole protest. In Singhu border, this is Saurabh Shukla for NDTV.
Now, as the political row over the Pegasus phone hack continues, IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw is scheduled to make a statement on the Pegasus spyware phone hack case in the Rajya Sabha at 2 p.m. Remember, there have been several disruptions on the floor of the House, with the opposition demanding answers from the government. Now, Israel's NSO, the developer of Pegasus, has said that it will no longer respond to media inquiries. The expose by 17 news organizations across the world since Sunday, it said, was a planned and well-orchestrated media campaign led by Forbidden Stories and pushed by special interest groups. A spokesperson said that NSO will thoroughly investigate any credible proof of misuse of its technologies. And the statement goes on to say, as we always had, we will shut down the system where necessary. Well, on to the big political story we're tracking after Mamata Banerjee signalled her plans to move to the national political scene and set the ball rolling in a certain sense for opposition unity ahead of the 2024 general elections. The Trinamool Congress General Secretary Abhishek Banerjee left for Delhi to do the groundwork ahead of her visit to the national capital next week. Mamata Banerjee says that she wants to meet with opposition leadership to hammer out a strategy to challenge the BJP in 2024. Abhishek Banerjee, meanwhile, will be the guest of honour at a lunch that is being hosted by the Trinamool Rajya Sabha MP Sukhendu Shekhar Ray today for all party MPs. There are 2 other special invitees at this lunch, Yashwant Sinha and Mukul Roy. The latter was present on the dais with Mamata Banerjee. The former, Mr. Sinha, is being viewed as a potential candidate to one of the Rajya Sabha seats of the state that are lying vacant. Well, the West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee is aiming to go national. At an annual Trinamool Martyrs' Day speech yesterday, she spoke of Khela Hobe, or Game On for 2024, urging the opposition to unite to oust the BJP. She also took on the Modi government directly over allegations of the Pegasus phone hacking, saying that she actually bandaged her phone camera to prevent tapping. Monideepa Banerjee with the full story.
देखो हम पूरा इसको प्लास्टर कर दिया.
The picture that spoke 1,000 words. Mamata Banerjee not mincing hers either.
Pegasus, dangerous, ferocious. देखो हम पूरा इसको प्लास्टर कर दिया. क्या करेगा? फोन लगा के क्या करेगा?
Taking on the BJP government on the biggest scandal in the country today, she said, Pegasus. and signalling her agenda in no uncertain terms, Delhi Chalo, Target 2024.
आज आप लोगों को कहना चाहिए, आज हम लोग को इकट्ठा होना चाहिए.
Not just the phone hack, but also COVID, fuel prices, farmers' protests, and her own victory over BJP in Bengal. For Mamata Banerjee, the time is ripe. So on Trinamool's Shaheed Divas, 21st July, the outreach to opposition parties to say, let's meet. She is in Delhi next week.
अगर ये टाइम में शरद जी आप है, आप उधर में चिदम्बरम जी सब वगैरह वगैरह सब है, आप लोग सोच लीजिए, अगर आप लोग एक मीटिंग बुला सकता है तो we can attend 26 or 27 or 27, 28, 29 ये 3 दिन में अगर आप एक मीटिंग कर सकता है तो हम लोग at least we can sit together.
Over half a dozen opposition leaders attended the Trinamool event in Delhi. Heavyweights like Sharad Pawar and P. Chidambaram. They were present for a while.
आप ममता बनर्जी के समर्थन में आए हैं?
बिल्कुल
जी
बिल्कुल.
क्या आपको लगता है कि राष्ट्रीय राजनीति में भी ममता बनर्जी को सक्रिय होना चाहिए?
क्यों नहीं, क्यों नहीं?
The BJP jeered and to embarrass the Trinamool hit back, citing the NHRC report and holding a Shaheed Divas of its own for victims of post-poll violence. Political sparring between the BJP and Trinamool will continue in Bengal. But Mamata Banerjee has just moved the goalposts. She has taken the battle to BJP's doorstep at the centre. The Bengal Assembly elections results proved Mamata Banerjee is no easy adversary. Remember, Khala Hobe?
रोशनी चाँद से होता है, सितारों से नहीं. मोहब्बत काम से होता है मोदी जी, मन का बात कहने से नहीं.
With G.D. Shankar and Himanshu Shekhar, Monideepa Banerjee, NDTV.
Meanwhile, Navjot Singh Sidhu, the newly appointed president of the Punjab Congress, on Wednesday visited the Golden Temple along with scores of MLAs apparently backing him. There was much celebration among supporters who were gathered earlier in the day at his residence as well. At least one such MLA rejected a demand from Amrinder Singh's camp that the party chief should apologise to the chief minister publicly.
Crisscrossing the state for the last 2 days to garner support, the newly appointed Punjab Congress chief Navjot Singh Sidhu, who will be formally assuming office on Friday in Chandigarh, reached the Golden Temple to pay respect at the holy shrine for Sikh. The Sidhu camp claimed that 60 out of 77 Congress MLAs in Punjab who were invited attended this show of strength. This despite CM's no apology, no talks call. The tweet by CM's media advisor read, "Reports of Sherry on top seeking time to meet Captain Amrinder are completely false. No time has been sought whatsoever. No change in stance. Captain Amrinder won't meet Navjot Singh Sidhu till latter publicly apologizes for his personally derogatory social media attacks against him." Among 60 MLAs who welcomed Sidhu were several leaders once considered close to Punjab Chief Minister, including Sunil Jakhar, former Punjab Pradesh Congress Committee President, Amrinder Singh Raja Waring, political advisor to CM, cabinet ministers including Tript Rajendra Bajwa, Sukhjinder Singh Randhawa, Charanjit Channi.
How many MLAs do you have here?
While Sidhu and Captain Amrinder Singh have both hit silent mode, other leaders are speaking on their behalf. MLA Pargat Singh, a long-time supporter of Sidhu, in turn asked for an apology from the Chief Minister.
माफी किस काम दी? माफी मेरे कहने ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ। ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਤੱਕ ਵੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਵੀ ਕੈਪਟਨ ਅਮਰਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੋਲਵ ਕੀਤੇ ਤੇ ਕੈਪਟਨ ਅਮਰਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਮਾਫੀ ਮੰਗਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ।
Many senior leaders dismissed any possibility of Sidhu apologizing to the Chief Minister.
वो सरकारी व्यक्ति है, कोई वो पार्टी का कोई ऑफिस बीरर नहीं है। ऑल इज वेल इन कांग्रेस।
आगे आने वाले दिनों में
कोई डिफरेंस ऑफ ओपिनियन होना कोई बुरी बात नहीं है। ये डेमोक्रेटिक सेटअप है, डेमोक्रेसी में डिफरेंस ऑफ ओपिनियन रहता है।
CM's own political advisor who attended Sidhu said time will heal all the wounds.
मैं समझता हूँ कि ये ना केवल कांग्रेस पार्टी में हर जगह इतना थोड़ा थोड़ा चलता है, पार्टियों में ऐसी बात चलती है, लेकिन ऐसी कोई चीज नहीं है जो ठीक नहीं हो सकती। और आने वाले दिनों में आप देखेंगे कि तमाम लोग एक ही प्लेटफॉर्म पर आकर पंजाब के लोगों की लड़ाई लड़ेंगे।
The BJP meanwhile took a swipe at Sidhu and Captain. Leader RP Singh tweeted and said, Sidhu 62 versus Captain's 15, a reference to a letter by 10 Congress MLAs urging the party high command to not let the captain down. The letter was written on 18th of this month.
In the past 72 hours, neither Congress Party High Command nor Punjab Chief Minister or the Punjab State President has made any outreach effort to resolve the impending political crisis. And if the situation remains the same, then the entire purpose behind the restructuring of the state unit in Punjab stands defeated. With camera person Ashwini Vaishnaw, I'm Akshay Dongri for NDTV.
Now, the RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat has said that the Citizenship Amendment Act and the NRC will not harm the Muslims of the country. Mr. Bhagwat's comments came during his visit to Assam.
अब CAA NRC ये किसी भारत के नागरिक के विरुद्ध बनाया हुआ कानून नहीं है। भारत के नागरिक मुसलमान को CAA से कुछ नुकसान नहीं पहुंचने वाला।
Now, as talk continues of the possible resignation of the Karnataka Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa, his loyalists insist that he is not going anywhere and that the BJP's first South Indian Chief Minister is getting support from Lingayat leaders. Meanwhile, the Chief Minister's appeal to his colleagues in the BJP to not indulge in protest and indiscipline.
Support is loud and clear from these religious leaders for the continuation of B.S. Yediyurappa as Karnataka Chief Minister. They have come personally to meet him and have also given statements essentially asking the central leadership to back off from the veteran politician who belongs to the dominant Lingayat community.
ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ಅವರ ಆಡಳಿತದಲ್ಲಿ ದೋಷಗಳು ಕಂಡ್ರೆ ಆಗ ಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳಬೇಕೆ ಹೊರತಾಗಿ 1 ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ 2 ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ 3 ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳನ್ನು ಬದಲಾಯಿಸುವಂಥದ್ದು ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು ಯಾವುದೇ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗದಂತ ಸನ್ನಿವೇಶ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ.
ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಟು ದ CM, please don't give resignation. You are purely 2 years complete after the you can leadership change, but present Yediyurappa is continued CM. Philosophers are ruled by government. Yediyurappa is a good philosopher and good administrator.
Home Minister Basavaraj Bommai also says the Chief Minister is here to stay.
CM is going to continue. He himself has said it, and our in charge Arun Singh has also said it in previously. Ultimately, CM is very strong.
And even a Congress leader, former Home Minister M.B. Patil, has tweeted that the BJP could face Lingayat anger if the party ill-treats Yediyurappa. The 78-year-old Chief Minister completes 2 years in office in this current term on July the 27th. With Kumaran Govind, Maya Sharma in Bengaluru for NDTV.
Now, the Supreme Court will be taking up the Delhi Police's plea against the Delhi High Court verdict which granted bail to the 3 student activists Natasha Narwal, Devangana Kalita and Asif Iqbal Tanha. While the top court has declined to interfere with the bail order per se, the Supreme Court will examine the legal aspects of the High Court bail order on the interpretation of the UAPA, which it believes could have countrywide ramifications. Well, on to the other big story we're tracking. The centre has said that there was no data that was provided by states on deaths due to the oxygen shortage in the second wave of COVID. This at a time when during the second wave, the struggle among India's hospitals and patients had captured global attention. People had suffered, died inside or outside hospitals because of a shortage of medical oxygen. The centre's statement has triggered sharp political reactions. But what do people who suffered feel about the government's remarks? Sukirti with the full story.
The centre's statement in Parliament that no deaths because of lack of oxygen have been specifically reported by states and UTs has angered the families of those who died last April in hospitals, at the gates of hospitals, even in vehicles and ambulances because of a shortage of oxygen supply.
मेरे फादर और मॉम तो डिस्चार्ज होने वाले थे, बस मैं उस दिन ही अगले दिन ही कॉल आता है कि ये बार हॉस्पिटल आ जाओ, डॉक्टर बात करना चाहते हैं। फर्स्ट मेरी मम्मी की डेथ हुई पहले, तो वहाँ पर था मैं, तो डॉक्टर कह रहे कि ऑक्सीजन की शॉर्टेज से डेथ हो गई।
23-year-old Gaurav and his sister Bharti lost their parents when the oxygen ran out at Delhi's Jaipur Golden Hospital. Over 20 people died on the 24th of April. 70-year-old Harbhajan Singh is still struggling to come to terms with the death of his wife Kawaljit. She was among the 12 who died in Delhi's Batra hospital on the 1st of May because of oxygen shortage. The family is shaken after the government's claims.
तो मुझे हैरानगी होती है, सरकार ये कैसे कह सकती है? अगर नहीं हुई है तो फिर उन्होंने क्या खुद ही अपने गले घोट कर मार दिया? वो बिल्कुल ठीक ठाक थी। फर्स्ट टाइम वो अपने मतलब हॉस्पिटल में एडमिट हुई हैं। 29th को वो एडमिट हुई हैं और फर्स्ट को उनका ऐसे ये सब हो गया।
Batra Hospital had also lost one of its own doctors, its gastroenterology head Dr. R.K. Himtani.
अपने आप में ग्लानि होती है कभी कभी देख करके कि हम कैसे प्रैक्टिशनर हैं कि हमारे सामने हमारा कलीग और बहुत सारे पेशेंट की डेथ हो जाती है और एक ऐसी वजह से जिस वजह को बड़े आराम से मैनेज किया जा सकता है। राजनीतिकरण ऑक्सीजन पे, मरीजों की कॉस्ट पे, उनकी जिंदगी पे नहीं होना चाहिए।
But it was not just people dying in hospitals. In Lucknow, 61-year-old Shankar Dayal died gasping for oxygen at his home. His sons unable to get a hospital bed for him or to arrange adequate oxygen, despite spending hours at oxygen plants, even begging and pleading.
21 या 22 को हम लोग पता चला कि ऑक्सीजन लेवल ज़्यादा डाउन है, 40-60 किसी तरह पहुँच गया। 40-60 था, ठीक है। फिर उसके बाद हम लोग काफ़ी हॉस्पिटलों में दौड़े हैं, कहीं कोई बेड नहीं खाली था, ना कहीं ऑक्सीजन भी अवेलेबल नहीं हो पा रही थी।
States today lashed out at the centre's accusation that it was their fault in not sending any data on deaths because of oxygen shortage.
अरविंद केजरीवाल जी ने कहा कि हम एक कमेटी बना रहे हैं जो एक एक मौत की जांच करेगी। उन्होंने एलजी से उसको रुकवा दिया।
क्या मेरी तो बोलती बंद हो गई। जिसके परिवार के लोग ऑक्सीजन के अभाव से उनकी मृत्यु हो गई, उनके ऊपर क्या बीती हुई ये बात सुनकर।
भारतीय जनता पार्टी का सबसे बड़ा झूठ है। जिस समय लोग ऑक्सीजन के लिए तड़प रहे थे, उस समय भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार होते हुए भी अस्पतालों में ऑक्सीजन नहीं उपलब्ध करा पाई।
Union Minister and Delhi MP Meenakshi Lekhi countered this, demanding the Maharashtra and Delhi governments declare the number of deaths because of oxygen shortage. While the centre has put the onus upon the states, it has failed to explain the hue and cry across the country that led to India receiving such heavy foreign aid for oxygen.
The government may continue with the blame game, but for families who lost their loved ones, these wounds will remain forever, and the oxygen crisis will always be a fact that can never be denied. Bureau Report for NDTV.
With that, we're slipping into a short break. More news coming up on the other side. Stay with us. Welcome back. The big story we're tracking from Mumbai, an alleged porn shoot inside a bungalow near Mumbai earlier this year is what sparked an investigation that led to the arrest of businessman Raj Kundra, actor Shilpa Shetty's husband. Meanwhile, voices against Kundra from within the industry are increasing. There is no response yet from Shilpa Shetty or Kundra's lawyers. Police say that Shilpa Shetty was not aware of her husband's alleged racket.
Businessman Raj Kundra's arrest was the culmination of an investigation that started after a raid during an alleged pawn shoot inside a bungalow in Mud Island, near Mumbai in February this year. Raj Kundra's name had emerged in the probe after the arrest of actor Gehna Vashisht, soon after the raid, but the police say they did not find enough evidence then to proceed against Raj Kundra. Vashisht had denied that porn films were being shot at the premises and instead described it as erotica, which is not illegal.
बोल्ड फिल्मों को, एरोटिक फिल्मों को पोर्नोग्राफिक के साथ मिक्स किया जा रहा है. कोई भी फिल्म पोर्नोग्राफी के सेक्शन में नहीं आती.
As the police continue to interrogate Raj Kundra, others from the industry are claiming they were conned by him too.
जिस तरह से उमेश कामत ने या राज कुंद्रा ने जिस तरह से मुझसे डिमांड किया था वीडियो कॉल पे न्यूड ऑडिशन का, तो मैं भी डिमांड करना चाहती हूँ कि उनकी जांच हो.
YouTuber Puneet Kaur also took to her Instagram account to share details about an offer from Raj Kundra to work on a film for the Hotshot app. The police say they are verifying the evidence found during searches at Raj Kundra's office and if required, will record statements of those making allegations against Kundra. In Mumbai with Prashant Shishodia, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
A short break here. We'll bring you more news on the other side. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Good Morning India. A top focus story. The police is taking no chances and they've in fact asked the police staff on duty to carry khaki uniform. The police staff in branches has been told to be on standby mode. This of course in view of the fact that the Delhi police has granted farmers the permission to hold a peaceful protest at Jantar Mantar. Only 200 farmers will be permitted per day. This is the latest information that we're getting to you from Delhi. No march has been permitted. Remember, farmers had sought permission to protest in Jantar Mantar in view of the parliament session demanding that the parliament roll back the 3 contentious farm laws. But the Delhi police is on high alert. Delhi police units have been told to keep cell phones on. The police staff at home has been put on standby mode. The police staff with anti-riot gear has also been kept on standby. So that's the latest information that we have as far as the preparedness of the Delhi police is concerned after farmers were given permission to carry out a peaceful protest at Jantar Mantar. Like I said, this is from the 22nd of July to the 9th of August and only 200 farmers will be present per day.
Are expected to leave from their de facto protest headquarters at Delhi's northern border to Jantar Mantar, a designated protest site near Parliament and next to a major police station.
200 farmers यहाँ से हमारे ऑफिस से बसेज में जाएंगे, रोज जाएंगे, 13 अगस्त तक जाएंगे.
With the 26th of January violence still fresh, the police, government and farmers have agreed on how to proceed peacefully this time. Identification cards every day to the 200 farmers who will bus it to Parliament daily. The buses will be escorted by police. They will arrive at 10:30 am daily and leave at 5 pm. 5 companies each of Delhi police and paramilitary forces will be present at the Jantar Mantar for security. Farmers who are protesting 3 controversial farm laws pushed through by the government last year are saying that they will court arrest without any protest if the Delhi police try to stop them. The makeshift barriers remain in place. So far, there is no plan to disrupt traffic.
There are 2 challenges in front of Delhi police. First challenge is how to keep control of this whole Parliament Farmers March, because last time on 26 January, they had given permission to farmers to march in Delhi, but situation got out of their hands. And the second challenge is that in Jantar Mantar, which is very close to Parliament, how to control these farmers, because last time also few fringe element deviated the whole protest. In Singhu border, this is Shikant Jha, Saurabh Shukla for NDTV.
While, of course, the farmers are going to be in the national capital today, we'll keep a close watch on all those developments. Meanwhile, Mamata Banerjee signalled her plans to move to the national political scene and set the ball rolling for opposition unity to jointly take on the BJP in 2024. The Trinamool Congress General Secretary Abhishek Banerjee left for Delhi to do the groundwork ahead of her visit to the national capital next week. Mamata Banerjee says that she wants to meet with opposition leaders to hammer out a strategy to challenge the BJP in 2024. Abhishek Banerjee, meanwhile, will be the guest of honour at a lunch that is being hosted by Trinamool Rajya Sabha MP Sukhendu Shekhar Ray today for all party MPs. There are two other special invitees, Yashwant Sinha and Mukul Roy. The latter was present on the dais with Mamata Banerjee, and the former, Mr. Yashwant Sinha, is being viewed as a potential candidate to one of the two Rajya Sabha seats that are lying vacant. And Mamata Banerjee yesterday, remember, at the Trinamool's annual Martyrs' Day speech, spoke about Khela Hobe or Game On for 2024, urging the opposition to unite to oust the BJP. She also took on the Modi government directly over allegations of the Pegasus phone hacking, saying she actually bandaged her phone camera to prevent phone tapping. Manideepa with the full story.
देखो हम पूरा इसको प्लास्टर कर दिया.
The picture that spoke 1,000 words. Mamata Banerjee not mincing hers either.
Pegasus, dangerous, ferocious. देखो हम पूरा इसको प्लास्टर कर दिया. क्या करेगा? फोन लगा के क्या करेगा?
Taking on the BJP government on the biggest scandal in the country today, she said, Pegasus, and signalling her agenda in no uncertain terms, Delhi Chalo, Target 2024.
आज आप लोगों को कहना चाहिए, आज हम लोग को इकट्ठा होना चाहिए.
Not just the phone hack, but also COVID, fuel prices, farmers' protests, and her own victory over BJP in Bengal. For Mamata Banerjee, the time is ripe. So on Trinamool's Shaheed Divas, 21st July, the outreach to opposition parties to say, let's meet. She is in Delhi next week.
अगर ये टाइम में शरद जी आप है, आप उधर में चिदम्बरम जी सब वगैरह वगैरह सब है, आप लोग सोच लीजिए, अगर आप लोग एक मीटिंग बुला सकता है तो we can attend 26 or 27 or 27, 28, 29. ये 3 दिन में अगर आप एक मीटिंग कर सकता है तो हम लोग at least we can sit together.
Over half a dozen opposition leaders attended the Trinamool event in Delhi. Heavyweights like Sharad Pawar and P. Chidambaram. They were present for a while.
आप ममता बनर्जी के समर्थन में आए हैं?
बिल्कुल.
जी?
बिल्कुल.
क्या आपको लगता है कि राष्ट्रीय राजनीति में भी ममता बनर्जी को सक्रिय होना चाहिए?
क्यों नहीं? क्यों नहीं?
The BJP jeered, and to embarrass the Trinamool, hit back, citing the NHRC report and holding a Shaheed Divas of its own for victims of post-poll violence. Political sparring between the BJP and Trinamool will continue in Bengal. But Mamata Banerjee has just moved the goalposts. She has taken the battle to BJP's doorstep at the centre. The Bengal Assembly elections results proved Mamata Banerjee is no easy adversary. Remember Khela Hobe?
रोशनी चाँद से होता है, सितारों से नहीं. मोहब्बत काम से होता है मोदी जी, मन का बात कहने से नहीं.
With G.D. Shankar and Himanshu Shekhar, Manideepa Banerjee, NDTV.
Ramik, hi. Let me just start by asking you, because we've just heard Reuters report that the Israel government is now planning to open a probe into the whole Pegasus scandal. How much of this is building up as a pressure within Israel, particularly because there have been reports suggesting that there are close links between companies like Pegasus and the Israeli government?
You're certainly right, because every security company that works in Israel that wants to export some kind of technology, some kind of equipment, needs the approval of Israeli Defense Ministry. Now, it needs to show the Israeli Defense Ministry exactly to who is it going to be sold, to who is it going to be marketed, and what is the purpose of these sales and agreement, meaning no agreement can be done by security or defense companies from Israel without the permission of the Defense Ministry.
Okay.
So after all this exposure and all this list and all this really troubling reports about who was on the target list of the Pegasus software, meaning the Israeli Defense Ministry and now and other official bodies in Israel need to start investigating what happened here.
Right.
And of course, there are implication regarding Israel itself, meaning there are some countries that are critical about what exactly Israel is doing in this story.
And not just that, Amichai, because it's one thing for these companies to get the clearance from the Israeli Defense Ministry, but Haaretz reported, and you may have seen the story, that there almost appeared to be a situation where ex-Prime Minister Netanyahu was almost indirectly or directly promoting Pegasus. The story said wherever Netanyahu goes, Pegasus follows. He's meeting world leaders, and then immediately after that, names from that country appear on the Pegasus list.
I saw this report, but I don't know how it goes in Europe. But really, if you talk about countries in the Gulf, like Saudi Arabia and the UAE and other countries that before there were reports of public ties with Israel, there were reports that the Pegasus software was sold to them by permission of Israeli defense bodies. So it's really an issue that even countries without diplomatic relations with Israel,
right,
they get agreement that Israel can sell them stuff like this software. So I don't know if Netanyahu himself, the former prime minister, really did PR, public relations for this company.
Right.
But it is known that even before our countries that don't have public relations with Israel do get permissions to be sold this kind of software.
Right. Vijayta, now, it's been what now? I think almost 3 days since the scandal broke. We've seen a very aggressive line taken by the government publicly, politically, saying that this is all rubbish, we reject it. But you're also in touch, I'm assuming, with officials behind the scenes, national security ecosystem. Is there any worry there? Are they starting to look at how all of this could have happened?
I think it's very troubling because you take the WhatsApp lawsuit against NSO. You take this story right now about NSO, and again, like I said earlier, every kind of deal like this goes to the defense ministry. So that's why I think this time it's very troubling. Because up until now, the reports that Pegasus software was against lawyers, journalists. Now, when it comes to leaders like Emmanuel Macron or Indian politicians or South African leaders, this is a completely different story right now. So I think in
now
Israel,
it's starting to
Well, our top focus story is the farmer agitation. Delhi police has given permission to protesting farmers to carry out a peaceful protest at Jantar Mantar. Only 200 farmers will be allowed to protest at Jantar Mantar for a limited period of time. They will be escorted by the Delhi police. Those are pictures that we're getting to you from the Ghazipur border, the Tikri border, the Singhu border, and of course Jantar Mantar in Delhi, where security has been beefed up. The police has left nothing to chance. The orders that have been issued have demanded that the police staff on duty carry khaki uniform. Police branches have been kept on standby mode. The staff in security units has been told to keep their cell phones on. Police staff at home has been put on standby mode, and the police with an anti-riot gear is seen on standby at Delhi's Jantar Mantar. So this, of course, is the latest information that we have coming in from the national capital. Farmers, much talked about protest during the parliament session, finally got a green light. Remember, the farmers want to protest close to India's parliament, demanding the parliament to take back the farm laws. Let's go right across to Sonakshi joining us with the very latest from the Singhu border. Sonakshi, while you've been reporting that thousands of farmers have gathered, we know that only 200 farmers are actually going to be allowed to come to Jantar Mantar. That too only between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. every day.
That's absolutely right, Rishika. I come to you from the Singhu border. Remember, Singhu border, among other protest points like Ghazipur and Tikri border, have been the center points for this farmers' agitation, which has been on for nearly 8 months. Now, we also have seen several performing artists, several actors and singers who've also taken part in this protest, in this agitation. Today, the farmers have decided that they will continue to protest, but in a very limited form, given that COVID protocols have been put in place. The COVID Mahamari Act is in place. I'm joined by a performing artist and Indian actress, Sonia Maan, who was actively part of this protest right from the beginning. What is the plan, ma'am? How do you plan on protesting today? Because you have not been given permission to march.
Yeah, we are going in the buses, and wherever police stop us, we will request them ki please hame jaane do andar. If they will not allow us, then we will sit there only and we will protest peacefully, and wahin pe we will discuss about our bills and protest against a government.
Right. Kisan Sansad plan kiya gaya hai to gherao the parliament, but only 200 farmers.
Yeah.
It is also because farmers bhi COVID protocols ko bahut seriously le rahe hain is baar, more than ever before, right?
Yeah. Because 200 decided by Sujuk Kisan Morcha. Every jathebandi is carrying like 3 members from each state, so that कि जितने कम लोग होंगे एक अनुशासन के साथ चलेंगे, peaceful रहेगा. Because every member has given this identity card. Right. Signed by our Sujuk Kisan Morcha, so that जो last time what happened on 26, the people जिन्होंने शरारती अंदर आए थे, जिन्होंने ये protest को खराब करने की कोशिश की थी, this time they will not get that chance, because everybody is carrying this card, right, and which is signed by Sujuk Kisan Morcha, and the person who is not carrying this card is not allowed in that protest.
Okay, so that is a good way to filter out the members participating in the protest. Just a quick question on once you reach Jantar Mantar, there is tight security over there. Are you all prepared for it? The Delhi police is on alert completely in the city as well.
We are not in the mood of doing anything wrong. We are protesting peacefully. Right. As I said, we will go there, we will request them, please allow us. If they won't, then we will sit there only and we will protest peacefully.
And you will do this throughout the week except on Saturdays and Sundays, because permission सिर्फ weekdays पे लिए दिया गया है 11 to 5 in the day.
जब तक जो भी parliament sessions के दिन होंगे उसी दिन होगा.
Okay. So, until the end of monsoon session, the parliament monsoon session, actress Sonia Maan, of course, part of the protest from the beginning, but confirming and reassuring that this protest will be peaceful, reassuring also that they will continue to protest on each day of the monsoon session till the parliament of the monsoon session ends, but at the same time reassuring that they will follow all the rules, especially given that they themselves have only got 200 members to participate in this farmers' protest. The farmers are expected to start from Singhu border towards Jantar Mantar in buses by 10 a.m. today.
200 farmers are expected to leave from their de facto protest headquarters at Delhi's northern border to Jantar Mantar, a designated protest site near Parliament and next to a major police station.
200 farmers यहाँ से हमारे ऑफिस से बसेज में जाएंगे, रोज जाएंगे, 13 अगस्त तक जाएंगे.
With the 26th of January violence still fresh, the police, government and farmers have agreed on how to proceed peacefully this time. Identification cards every day to the 200 farmers who will bus it to Parliament daily. The buses will be escorted by police. They will arrive at 10:30 a.m. daily and leave at 5 p.m. 5 companies each of Delhi police and paramilitary forces will be present at the Jantar Mantar for security. Farmers who are protesting 3 controversial farm laws pushed through by the government last year are saying that they will court arrest without any protest if the Delhi police try to stop them. The makeshift barriers remain in place. So far, there is no plan to disrupt traffic.
There are two challenges in front of Delhi police. First challenge is how to keep control of this whole Parliament farmers march, because last time on 26 January they had given permission to farmers to march in Delhi, but situation got out of their hands. And the second challenge is that in Jantar Mantar, which is very close to Parliament, how to control these farmers, because last time also few fringe element deviated the whole protest. In Singhu border, Mr. Shikant Jha, Saurabh Shukla for NDTV.
Well, after Mamata Banerjee signalled her plans to move to the national political scene and set the ball rolling for opposition unity to jointly take on the BJP in 2024, the Trinamool Congress General Secretary Abhishek Banerjee left for Delhi to in fact hit the ground running ahead of her visit to the national capital next week. Mamata Banerjee says she wants to meet with the opposition leadership to hammer out a strategy to challenge the BJP in 2024. Abhishek Banerjee is going to be present at a lunch that is going to be hosted for him today, where of course all the senior party MPs are in fact likely to be present. Let's go right across to Monideepa joining us for the very latest. Monideepa, Mamata Banerjee yesterday has has in a certain sense announced Khela Hobe 2024. She's going to come to the national capital next week, and her nephew Abhishek Banerjee is already in Delhi to hit the ground running.
That's right. Mr. Abhishek Banerjee, who is also, the new General Secretary of the party, besides being a party MP, he was there with Mamata Banerjee yesterday when she declared Khela Hobe to a rousing reception from the Trinamool Congress, and we are waiting for more detailed reactions from the other opposition party leaders that she is hoping to meet next week. So Abhishek Banerjee was there. He made a very brief kind of speech, about 5 minutes, restating his aunt's intents. He also took time out to repeatedly thank all the leaders in Delhi of various opposition parties who had come in to Constitution Club to hear Mamata Banerjee speaking. He repeatedly thanked them, and then he headed off for Delhi, and we believe he has a lot on his plate. As General Secretary and Lok Sabha MP, he has the onus of, in a way, carrying the momentum of Trinamool's very, aggressive position in Parliament. Trinamool has been standing up strongly against the whole Pegasus issue on COVID, fuel prices, and so on. And even today, I believe there's an adjournment notice in Parliament and Rajya Sabha to discuss these issues first, Pegasus first, and then other matters. So at this lunch at the home of Trinamool MP Sukhendu Shekhar Roy, we believe there'll be two special guests besides Abhishek, and that is Yashwant Sinha and Mukul Roy. This has started a bit of speculation about who might be a candidate for the 9th August Rajya Sabha elections coming up in Bengal. There are 2 Rajya Sabha seats vacant in Bengal. One has to be polled for by the 9th of August, and there is a lot of speculation that Mr. Yashwant Sinha, who is also the party vice president, he may be nominated to the seat. And Mukul Roy, of course, making his entry into Trinamool at the national level for the first time since he, in a way, rejoined the party on the 11th of June after winning on a BJP ticket from North Krishnagar seat in the last assembly election. So these are issues on Abhishek Banerjee's plates, and of course finally the hammering out of an opposition meeting that Mamata Banerjee has proposed on 3 given dates, the 27th, the 28th and the 29th of July. She will be in Delhi on the 26th.
Thanks, Monideepa, for joining us with the very latest. Like we said, Mamata Banerjee is aiming to go national. At yesterday's annual Trinamool Martyrs Day speech, she spoke of Khela Hobe, or Game On for 2024, urging the opposition to unite to oust the BJP. She's also taken on the Modi government over Pegasus hacking. She bandaged her phone, saying she's done it to prevent tapping. Take a look.
देखो हम पूरा इसको प्लास्टर कर दिया.
The picture that spoke 1,000 words. Mamata Banerjee not mincing hers either.
Pegasus, dangerous, ferocious. देखो हम पूरा इसको प्लास्टर कर दिया. क्या करेगा? फोन लगा के क्या करेगा?
Taking on the BJP government on the biggest scandal in the country today, she said, Pegasus, and signaling her agenda in no uncertain terms, Delhi Chalo, target 2024.
आज आप लोगों को कहना चाहिए, आज हम लोग को इकट्ठा होना चाहिए.
Not just the phone hack, but also COVID, fuel prices, farmers' protests, and her own victory over BJP in Bengal. For Mamata Banerjee, the time is ripe. So on Trinamool's Shaheed Divas, 21st July, the outreach to opposition parties to say, let's meet. She is in Delhi next week.
अगर ये टाइम में शरद जी आप है, आप उधर में चिदम्बरम जी सब वगैरह वगैरह सब है, आप लोग सोच लीजिए, अगर आप लोग एक मीटिंग बुला सकता है तो वी कैन अटेंड 26 और 27 और 27, 28, 29 ये 3 दिन में अगर आप एक मीटिंग कर सकता है तो हम लोग एटलीस्ट वी कैन सिट टुगेदर.
Over half a dozen opposition leaders attended the Trinamool event in Delhi. Heavyweights like Sharad Pawar and P. Chidambaram. They were present for a while.
आप ममता बनर्जी के समर्थन में आए हैं?
बिल्कुल.
जी?
बिल्कुल.
क्या आपको लगता है कि राष्ट्रीय राजनीति में भी ममता बनर्जी को सक्रिय होना चाहिए?
क्यों नहीं? क्यों नहीं?
The BJP jeered and to embarrass the Trinamool hit back, citing the NHRC report and holding a Shaheed Divas of its own for victims of post-poll violence.
মহিলার উপরে অত্যাচার হয়েছে, অস্বাভাবিক অত্যাচার হয়েছে, তার মধ্যে 39 জন গণধর্ষিতা হয়েছেন, তার মধ্যে মাত্র 3 জন কমপ্লেন করার সাহস পেয়েছেন.
Political sparring between the BJP and Trinamool will continue in Bengal, but Mamata Banerjee has just moved the goalposts. She has taken the battle to BJP's doorstep at the centre. The Bengal Assembly elections results proved Mamata Banerjee is no easy adversary. Remember, Khala Hobe?
रोशनी चाँद से होता है, सितारों से नहीं. मोहब्बत काम से होता है मोदी जी, मन का बात कहने से नहीं.
With G.D. Shankar and Himanshu Shekhar, Monideepa Banerjee, NDTV.
And the Supreme Court is going to be taking up the Delhi High Court bail which was in fact granted to student activists Natasha Narwal, Devangana Kalita and Asif Iqbal Tana. Supreme Court is going to be taking up the plea of the Delhi police which was against the Delhi High Court verdict. But the top court has declined to interfere with the bail per se. The court has decided that it will examine the legal aspects of the High Court bail order on the interpretation of UAPA as it will have countrywide ramifications. With that, we're slipping into a very short break. We'll bring you a lot more news on the other side. Stay with us. Welcome back. On to the other big story we're tracking on Good Morning India. Incessant showers overnight have led to severe waterlogging in Mumbai once again. The low-lying areas have been the worst affected. Another rain red alert has been issued for Mumbai, other parts of Konkan and Goa along with Madhya Pradesh and other parts of Maharashtra. Mumbai has recorded close to 2,000 millimeters of rainfall in less than 2 months, which is the entire season's rainfall spanning over 4 months. So 4 months of rainfall in Mumbai has been received over just 2 months, and those of course are pictures of waterlogging, and these are scenes that are being witnessed across different parts of Mumbai, especially the low-lying areas after incessant rainfall over the course of last night, and a rain red alert has been sounded, which means that Mumbaikas should brace for more heavy rains in the coming days as well. So the seasonal average rainfall of 2,000 millimeters, which is typically spread over 4 months, has already been received in Mumbai in a span of just 2 months. And a weather warning there has been sounded for Mumbai, Konkan, Goa, and even parts of Madhya Pradesh. We'll keep a close watch on all those developments. Meanwhile, the big political focus from Punjab, Navjot Singh Sidhu, the newly appointed president of the Punjab Congress, on Wednesday visited the Golden Temple along with scores of MLAs apparently backing him. There was much celebration among his supporters gathered at his residence earlier. And at least one such MLA rejected a demand from Captain Amrinder Singh that the party chief should apologize to the chief minister publicly.
Crisscrossing the state for the last 2 days to garner support, the newly appointed Punjab Congress chief Navjot Singh Sidhu, who will be formally assuming office on Friday in Chandigarh, reached the Golden Temple to pay respect at the holy shrine for Sikhs. The Sidhu camp claimed that 60 out of 77 Congress MLAs in Punjab who were invited attended this show of strength. This despite CM's no apology, no talks call. The tweet by CM's media advisor read, "Reports of Sherry on top seeking time to meet Captain Amrinder are completely false. No time has been sought whatsoever. No change in stance. Captain Amrinder won't meet Navjot Singh Sidhu till latter publicly apologizes for his personally derogatory social media attacks against him." Among 60 MLAs who welcomed Sidhu were several leaders once considered close to Punjab Chief Minister, including Sunil Jakhar, former Punjab Pradesh Congress Committee President, Amrinder Singh Raja Waring, political advisor to CM, cabinet ministers including Tript Rajinder Bajwa, Sukhjinder Singh Randhawa, Charanjit Channi.
How many MLAs do you have here?
While Sidhu and Captain Amrinder Singh have both hit silent mode, other leaders are speaking on their behalf. MLA Pargat Singh, a long-time supporter of Sidhu, in turn asked for an apology from the Chief Minister.
माफी किस काम दी? माफी मेरे कहने ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ। ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਤੱਕ ਵੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਵੀ ਕੈਪਟਨ ਅਮਰਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੋਲਵ ਕੀਤੇ ਤੇ ਕੈਪਟਨ ਅਮਰਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਮਾਫੀ ਮੰਗਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ।
Many senior leaders dismissed any possibility of Sidhu apologizing to the Chief Minister.
वो सरकारी व्यक्ति है, वो पार्टी का कोई ऑफिस बेरर नहीं। ऑल इज वेल इन कांग्रेस।
आगे आने वाले दिनों में मीटिंग
डिफरेंस ऑफ ओपिनियन होना कोई बुरी बात नहीं है। ये डेमोक्रेटिक सेटअप है, डेमोक्रेसी में डिफरेंस ऑफ ओपिनियन रहता है।
CM's own political advisor who attended Sidhu said time will heal all the wounds.
मैं समझता हूँ कि ये ना केवल कांग्रेस पार्टी में हर जगह इतना थोड़ा थोड़ा चलता है, पार्टियों में ऐसी बात चलती है, लेकिन ऐसी कोई चीज नहीं है जो ठीक नहीं हो सकती। और आने वाले दिनों में आप देखेंगे कि तमाम लोग एक ही प्लेटफॉर्म पर आकर पंजाब के लोगों की लड़ाई लड़ेंगे।
The BJP meanwhile took a swipe at Sidhu and Captain. Leader RP Singh tweeted and said, "Sidhu 62 versus Captain 15, a reference to a letter by 10 Congress MLAs urging the party high command to not let the captain down. The letter was written on 18th of this month.
In the past 72 hours, neither Congress Party High Command nor Punjab Chief Minister or the Punjab State President has made any outreach effort to resolve the impending political crisis. And if the situation remains the same, then the entire purpose behind the restructuring of the state unit in Punjab stands defeated. With camera person Ashwini Mehra, I'm Akshay Dongri for NDTV.
Well, breaking news that is coming in. India's reported 41,383 new coronavirus cases in the last 24 hours. What we're also given to understand is that the recovery rate in the country has increased to 97.35%. 38,652 patients have recovered. The active caseload in the country has increased marginally from 4.7, which is what it was yesterday, to 4.9 lakh people. Active cases constitute 1.31% of the total cases. The weekly positivity rate remains below 5%, currently at 2.12%. The daily positivity rate has been now below 3% for 31 days. We will continue to get you. We're still awaiting the information on the deaths in the last 24 hours, but 41,000 new cases of COVID in the last 24 hours. We'll get you the very latest on all those numbers. Welcome back to our special campaign, Vaccinate India, in partnership with Google, where we're discussing questions you may be Googling about the coronavirus vaccines. Dr. Anita Matthew, infectious disease specialist, Fortis Hospitals, Mulund, joins us on the broadcast this morning. Thanks so much, Dr. Anita, for being with us. Should mothers who have COVID-19, who are currently infected with COVID-19, be breastfeeding infants?
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me here. The answer to your question is yes, they should be breastfeeding the baby because the nutritional value of your breast milk itself is significant. And what they just need to do as a precaution is to go ahead, wash their hands, wear a mask, and clean the area and breastfeed the baby. Breastfeeding is irrepressible, so you need to continue to do that.
Right. And what are some of the other do's and don'ts for, lactating women who are infected with COVID-19? What's the protocol that they should follow in order to prevent passing on the infection to their newborns?
Yeah. So the first and foremost that what we're looking at is, as I said, the masking. So you have to be masked in front of your infant at all time points. And after you have breastfeed the baby, you should keep the baby at a safe distance away from you. And as I said, the mask has to be on. So even if while you're sleeping and the baby is roomed in with you, you continue to be masked. Wash your hands frequently or sanitize them before and after touching the baby. And even if you're running fever, even if you're on meds, breast milk is safe. So continue to do that. And the bottom line is most of us get better with COVID. In fact, majority of patients recover. So don't get stressed.
And no correlation between the COVID medication that one may be taking. What if the COVID is a little more severe and the breastfeeding mother is in fact on steroids? Is it still safe?
Steroids is perfectly safe. But if the mother is severe, I'm assuming that the mother would be then in the hospital rather than staying back at home and taking medication. Because if you have a moderate to severe COVID, only then do we really look at steroids. We generally do not prescribe steroids for patients who are treated at home front. So what I'm talking about is for patients who are there in the household rather than not being in the hospital. The ones who are in the hospice care, they would probably not have the baby with them because then you're exposing the child to a higher amount of, COVID infection if the child is not infected already.
And upon recovery, can a breastfeeding mother pass on the antibodies to the child?
I don't know how much of antibodies really are excreted out of the breast milk, but yes, by the way any infection would behave, you would always have antibodies which are produced, and some amount of it does get passed on in the breast milk. So it might be actually beneficial, like it happens with your measles, mumps, and rubella. If a mother is already having a certain amount of antibodies in her body because of the past infection or because of immunization, then the child does get benefited, and that's precisely the reason why we do not vaccinate a child immediately after birth for measles, mumps, or rubella. We do it after 9 months because that's how long the immunity would last for the baby.
Okay, the other question that a lot of people want to know is how long does it take for you to develop immunity after getting the coronavirus vaccine?
With all the data that we have as of now, it takes about 2 weeks from the second dose of the vaccine after you've taken the booster for you to get an adequate level of immunity to be able to counter the virus.
All right. And what about people who've got just one shot of the vaccine?
So you would have certain amount of immunity, but that would not be adequate enough to give you maybe, the 92-93% protection that we are talking in terms of.
All right. So you're saying in a certain sense 2 doses is imperative. And can one get an antibody test to determine your level of immunity? How do you know if your level of immunity is good after you've been vaccinated?
So the bottom line is you sometimes may not have an adequate levels of your IgG, IgM, which is what we typically look at after you have taken your shot of vaccines. but you have something which we don't factor in called as T-cell response, which is what you're trying to boost when you take the second shot of an antibody of a vaccine. So it really doesn't make any sense for anyone to go ahead and look at their antibody levels to determine whether they are completely protected or they have some partial protection against the infection. So we don't recommend really going ahead and doing an antibody testing.
Okay, so you don't recommend doing an antibody test?
No, we don't.
All right. Thanks so much, Dr. Anita Matthew, for sparing your time.
No problem. Take care. God bless.
All right, breaking news that is coming in at the moment. My colleague Arvind Gunasekar joins us with the very latest. Dainik Bhaskar offices are being raided across different parts of the country at the moment. Sources say that there are IT raids at some offices of the Dainik Bhaskar newspaper that are taking place. Let's go right across to Arvind with the very latest. Arvind, what more can you tell us?
Rishika, the Income Tax Department is conducting raids at the premises of Dainik Bhaskar, which is a Hindi newspaper group across the country. Our sources say that this particular search operation is being carried out on allegations of tax evasion. So what we are being told is that the office premises of Dainik Bhaskar are being currently searched by income tax officials across at least 5 states. That's what our sources are confirming. These places include Delhi and also Madhya Pradesh and also Rajasthan, Gujarat and also Maharashtra. So offices of Dainik Bhaskar Group in these 5 states are being searched as of this moment. We are not sure how many exact locations are being searched, but our sources have confirmed that searches are currently underway in these 5 states on allegations of tax evasion. The searches that started somewhere early in the morning is still currently underway, and several teams across the country are currently involved in this particular search operation. This also has to be seen in the context that Dainik Bhaskar has been very critical of how the government managed the second wave of the COVID and also other issues in the last few months. And this particular search is currently underway, is raising questions at several quarters. Several opposition leaders have questioned, saying that this is a result of journalism that Dainik Bhaskar is doing. Digvijay Singh, one of the senior leaders from Congress, he has already tweeted saying that this is a vision, this is a targeting of the media group for their coverage of entire COVID pandemic, etc.
Well, absolutely. Dainik Bhaskar, perhaps one of the largest Hindi newspapers in circulation in the country, was at the forefront of reporting on, the devastation caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, the second wave particularly. Arvind, they were very critical of the government's handling of the pandemic, challenging the official narrative. They were at the very forefront of challenging the official narrative when it came to the pandemic. What is the allegation? Do we have any clarity on what basis these raids are being conducted?
Rishika, for now, our sources in the Income Tax Department are saying that these searches are being carried out on allegations of tax evasion. So that's the single point of information that we have got. The Income Tax Department, based on their inputs, they can conduct searches, but they have a mandate to conduct searches under the IT Act. And what they are saying is that they've got inputs showing that the Dainik Bhaskar Group have evaded some point of tax at some point of time, and based on that particular input, they are conducting searches. So we have to wait for more time to get more details. But the preliminary information is that based on the input of tax evasion, the agency has initiated an action, and the searches are currently underway at several locations, at least in 5 states linking to Dainik Bhaskar Group.
All right. So the confirmation that we have is that there are raids, IT raids that are being conducted at Dainik Bhaskar offices across 5 states in India at the moment. Dainik Bhaskar, one of the largest Hindi newspapers in circulation in the country, was at the forefront of challenging the official narrative of the government and reporting on the second wave of COVID. Their reportage was often questioning government's narrative and critical of the government's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. Reactions already continuing to pour in. We'll get you the very latest on this story. Thanks, Arvind, for joining us. Properties of former Transport Minister of Tamil Nadu, M.R. Vijay Bhaskar, are also being raided by vigilance and anti-corruption authorities. Sources indicate searches these searches are related to corruption allegations in his department during the AIADMK regime. Let's go right across to Sam Daniel joining us with the very latest. Sam, what more can you tell us about these raids?
Rashika, we understand from DVAC sources that these raids are in connection with corruption allegations against this particular minister who was in charge of transport during the last 10-year AIADMK regime, particularly both under Ms. Jayalalitha and later under Mr. Edappadi Palaniswamy, and he was in charge of the public bus transport as well as the Chennai Metro Rail. So far, no clarity on what specific allegations came against him, but we expect a kind of a statement in a few hours from now after these searches are over. We understand these are going on largely at his hometown in Karur at 20 different places and 4 others including one in Chennai. That's what we understand. And politically this is significant because this is being seen as the first major political probe against the opposition by the DMK government ever since they took over power in the state in the month of May. And so far, no formal reactions yet from the spokespersons of the AIADMK saying that there's a gag order against them. We expect some kind of a statement, but we'll have to wait and watch what, in terms of evidence, would these searches actually result in. Rishika.
All right, thanks Sam for joining us with the very latest. Searches underway in 24 locations, including 20 at his hometown. We'll keep a close watch on all those developments. Meanwhile, staying with news from Tamil Nadu, you can actually walk into a mall or a vegetable market for vaccination in Chennai now. The Greater Chennai Corporation has launched vaccination camps at 10 malls and 38 vegetable markets in the city. Sam Daniel sent us this report earlier.
We come to you from the Phoenix Market City Mall in Chennai, where the Chennai Corporation has set up a vaccination camp to be able to reach out to the people who work in this mall and also possibly to many visitors who may not have taken their shots yet. In fact, they have set up a full-fledged vaccination camp with doctors and the nurses, and as we speak, the inoculation is going on. And besides this, they've also set up similar vaccination camps in crowded market areas. And with me, Dr. Tendral from the Chennai Corporation. Doctor, thank you very much for your time. Why do you think this kind of an attempt is important?
Because we have to cover, since a lot of people will be coming here, they will be purchasing things and all. So if we protect the shopkeepers, ultimately the customers, those who are coming here also will be protected, and those who are interested, because those who are coming here, they also, if they are interested, they can also have the vaccination. From the allotment, they will be 100 per mall, and for markets also 100 doses they are allotting. Depending upon the allotments, we will be giving the vaccines.
How is the supply now? A couple of days ago, you didn't have enough vaccine supply.
We will managing. We are managing, because we will be having closing balance, and we are managing that also.
Why did it take so long to get your first dose?
Because I can't get that chance actually. I'll try so many areas actually. It's a big queue. Here I take at least 15 minutes only. Hardly I'll finish my first dose.
Does it impact customers coming? Do they ask you, have you been vaccinated?
Yes, sir, definitely all customers come. If now I'll put the vaccine, it's safe to customer for us also.
Do customers ask?
Yes, sir.
People are quite surprised to see a vaccination camp inside the mall itself. So it's a good initiative, and people here are feeling, like, okay, this is good,
Tamil Nadu has a 6 crore population, the 18 plus category. So far, 1.9 crore doses have been administered. In Chennai, there is a total population of 59.4 lakh, and the city has administered 35.7 lakh doses, and 9.1 lakh people have taken both doses. That's around 15%. Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has asked the central government for a special 1 crore allocation, citing imbalance in allocation earlier. Initially, the state witnessed vaccine hesitancy, but now there is an increased awareness and the government is unable to cope with the rising demand. With the possibility of a third wave, the state government and the Chennai Corporation is doing everything possible to inoculate a larger population. At the Phoenix Market City in Chennai with Suresh, Sam Daniel, for NDTV.
Well, from Tamil Nadu, let's shift our focus to Uttar Pradesh, where we're tracking a shocking story from eastern Uttar Pradesh's Deoria. A body of a 17-year-old girl is seen hanging off a bridge for hours in Deoria. The girl was allegedly murdered by her grandfather and uncles. The body of the girl was thrown off the bridge by the accused, but it got caught in a railing. The police say that the girl was assaulted after an argument with her grandfather. The girl's aunt has said that the assault was over objections to the girl's lifestyle. The girl's father is a migrant worker in Punjab. The police say that one person has been arrested and more arrests to follow. Let's listen in to what the Deoria SP had to say.
एक लड़की का कल उसके बाबा से विवाद हो गया। लड़की अपने बाबा को गाली देने लगी। लड़की के दो चाचा लोगों में 2 या 3 चाचा थे, उन्होंने उसके साथ मारपीट की। लड़की बेहोश हो गई। फिर परिवार के लोग उसको जिला अस्पताल ला रहे थे कि रास्ते में उसकी मृत्यु हो गई। परिवार के इन लोगों ने उसे पटनवा पुल पर, जहां नीचे नदी बहती है, उससे उसे नीचे फेंका, लेकिन लड़की जो पुल का एंगल है उससे फंस गई और आज सवेरे उसकी डेड बॉडी थाना रामपुर कारखाना क्षेत्र के पटनवा पुल से प्राप्त हुई, जिसके संबंध में थाना रामपुर कारखाना में अभियोग पंजीकृत कर विवेचना कराई जा रही है।
हमारी ननद जो है अपने सास ससुर अपने देवर देवरान से सबसे अलग हैं। वो लोग प्रताड़ित करते थे उन लोगों को। इससे वो लोग अलग हुए, अलग रहने पर उन लोगों का पढ़ाई लिखाई वेशभूषा खान पान से वो लोग जलते थे। इसी वजह से जो है उनके चाचा चाची दादा दादी और ये मिल करके परिजन लोग लड़की को राड से मारे हैं। राड से मारने के बाद जब लड़की नीचे गिर गई, लड़की के माँ से बोले कि इसको होश है, हम लोग अस्पताल ले जा रहे हैं। तो अस्पताल ले जाने के बहाने लेकर के लोग आए, पुल के ऊपर लटका हुआ था और ये लोग वहीं पे राड से मारे थे। और ये लोग बना रहे हैं ये बात गांव के लोगों को, गांव इन लोगों का गांव दबंग है, वहां कोई भी मामला ऐसे 50 मामला उस गांव में हो चुका है।
Alok Pandey joins us with the very latest. Alok, shocking story that you're reporting on from Deoria. The body of this 17-year-old girl was just hanging off a bridge for hours.
Well, you're right, Nishita. Deoria is eastern UP district, I think about 300 or a little, 300 kilometers or a little more from Lucknow, which is the state capital. The body of the girl was indeed hanging for hours between Monday afternoon or Monday evening and Tuesday morning off that bridge. There are very gory visuals that have been shot by bystanders of their mobile phones of the girl's body hanging from a railing of the bridge, and a policeman and locals tried to retrieve it, tying ropes to it, then pulling it up. And it's difficult to describe the horror. Also, equally horrific is the fact that the allegations around the girl's death are very shocking. The aunt is on record to say that the grandfather and the uncles of this girl had a problem with her lifestyle, quote unquote, and the fact that they were educated and that, they had a different way of maybe dressing up, food habits, etc., etc. And this, again, at the end of the day, should be and is an individual choice. But in this case, it seems that this is something that led to major arguments within the household. The girl's father is a migrant laborer who worked in Punjab. And the wife, his wife and daughter, the girl who died, they used to live with their in-laws here in the Deoria village. And the immediate argument, we don't know what it was over, but as the policeman was saying that the girl seems to have abused the grandfather or that's what the police are saying, and that is what led to this assault. And it was so vicious that the girl died, and then even more vicious that that her own relatives, instead of trying to take her to hospital, tried to dump her body off the bridge, and then it got stuck off the railing and, was there for many, many hours.
Thanks, Alok, for joining us with the very latest, so extremely disturbing story there. The police say one person has been arrested and more arrests are to follow. We'll keep a close watch on those developments. Short break. Up next, we'll bring you all the international news. Stay with us.